Vanessa. Now, I'd love your thoughts on this. Should Britain spend more on foreign aid? 020 7862 2222 is the number. Government has now revealed which areas of our foreign aid spending are being cut. And this is what we know. It's a little bit sketchy, but it's worth having a look at it, OK? In February, they announced the budget would be slashed by 40%, from 0.5% of our gross national income down to 0.3%. So basically cut by 40% with the old scissors there. The hardest hit are projects in Africa, especially children's education and women's health. So all across that map, there will be projects which are getting less. Spending in other areas is being protected, such as the Gavi Vaccine Alliance, the World Bank, and humanitarian support for hotspots like Gaza, Ukraine, and Sudan. So that's what we know. It's a pretty big cut, isn't it, Samuel?
Yeah, it's quite significant, but it, on balance, is the right thing to do. And there's some misconceptions around what exactly is being cut and where the money is currently being spent. Over 25%, so over a quarter of all the current aid budget, there you go, is actually spent in the UK. And our
it's been diverted to asylum seekers.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and then also there's this idea that the aid budget is being cut so they can invest more in defence, which is again a bit of a fallacy because most of the cuts have already been reapportioned anyway. And so the government is not being completely honest about that. But the reality is, I do a lot of work on the African continent. When you talk to ministers in African governments, when you talk to people on the ground there, they are much more in favour of trading relationships than more investment in aid. Countries like China with their Belt and Road Initiative, the Middle East, countries like the UAE, about to spend $1 billion in Accra in Ghana, the capital, on an AI campus. They're the ones that are doing things that Africans want, not necessarily the way that Britain has done aid.
So you mean more trade, business focused?
100%.
Yeah,
great
Gemma.
Opportunities, lasting opportunities.
So handing out things doesn't work?
I think that's really interesting, and you have more insight into this. You've done work on it within the government, and so I totally respect that. I guess because of the huge increase in defence spending, which I think is we've all been bullied into a little bit by Trump, which also, if you really dig into that, I'm not sure that it prevents conflict. I mean, Russia went ahead when we had a huge defence budget before. Anyway, in terms of invading Ukraine. However, my worry is, what is the thing that everybody is talking about all the time? We are talking about all these people who have been displaced from where they live and migration, OK? And I just feel like if you withdraw this sort of cooperation with the Western world of trying to help countries in whatever way, that whether it's trade or whether it's this, there's going to be more civil unrest. The climate is obviously going to pot. And so there's going to be more uninhabitable parts of Africa, etc., as it just boils up, basically. And so the idea that if you're looking after your national interest and trying to prevent more immigration, I think foreign aid and all of that sort of cooperation is something that needs to be...
I think you're right to an extent. You're right to an extent. You need to create opportunities and jobs in particularly developing countries to reduce the demand for migration, but actually investing in aid in the way that we've done historically has not dealt with the economic challenges. If someone has a very good job, they're less likely to want to leave their place. Okay, so that's not what aid has been used for in this country. Other countries have done it a bit differently.
Let's take a call from Jane in Gloucestershire. Jane, do you think these foreign aid cuts are a bad idea?
We've got it all upside down, Jeremy. This is not an international health service here. It's a British health service. And we're a wonderful ship who's been supporting countries for decades. But it's going down. When the ship is going down, you put everything into home and looking after the home so the ship doesn't go down. I mean, when you go abroad...
Would you not feel like if you see some of these programmes that I'm thinking about, comic relief and programmes where you suddenly see the poverty, or you just think about the news pictures from Gaza, don't you just think that they're not that far away from our lives and who we are?
Come on, be real. We can't fix the world, but we can keep this magnificent ship up and running. The doctors do deserve more money. If we weren't wasting it on places where it's absolutely rife with fraud, we would have the money. Put the money here, get the ship up and running.
Okay. I don't know. The doctors, I'm not sure whether
I'm not sure about that, Jay. I was with you until you went to the doctors, because I think we've been spending at most 0.7% of our public sector budget on aid. And so actually, our aid is not the reason why we are in the economic moment we're in. That's the broader failures that the government has had. And actually what the Labour government has done that is deeply irresponsible is they've basically said, we'll blame some of it on aid so we can say we're going to fix it because of aid, but that's not going to fix it. A reduction in 0.2% in spend on aid is not going to fix the issues.
Well, they did say they were going to increase aid as well, and they've cut it. And I know as Jemma says, Trump came in and said, you've got to spend 5% and on your defence and whatnot. But they did cave quite quickly on that.
They did. So did many other countries.
Well, of course. And the guy who runs NATO called Trump Daddy.
Yeah. Oh, I know. That was disgusting. I was a little bit sick in my mouth. But also, so Trump has said, you're not going to piggy bank back off the US. And it all seems to be not really perhaps thought about. And then the other thing, the moral obligation is that we had promised as a country to protect the occupied Palestinian territories and Sudan and certain areas. And now they're just saying, nah. So there does come a point as well. It's like, does anything that you say stick?
Labour, not Jeremy. Labour.
Yeah, not Jeremy.
Just clarify.
Turn to me at the crucial. Oh yeah, everything. No, well, she turned to me at the crucial moment. I don't know. I think that the government has got no money. We keep saying this, and it's got to the priorities thing is ferocious now. It's doctors versus nurses. It's foreign aid versus defence. It's, if you take £1 and spend it there, you're taking it from somewhere else. And it means we've got these horrifically difficult choices. Thank you, Jane. Grace in London, hi.
Hi. Yeah, I mean, if you take £1 and you spend it in some of the very poorest parts of the world, you can make many times more impact than you could if you spent that £1 here. So it's really exciting to me that we have the privilege of being able to really help people. Talking about expensive coffees or whatever that a lot of people think are normal to buy. You can feed a starving child for weeks with that amount of money. So it's really exciting that we can make an impact. But when you then go and cut the aid budget from 0.5% of GDP to 0.3% of GDP, it's piddly. It's not going to fix anything in Britain, but it is going to mean that huge numbers of the world's most vulnerable people, who are far poorer than people in poverty here in Britain, who are far more impoverished and disadvantaged than we are, they're going to be really impacted.
But Samuel's point is that actually what they want is they want the ability to turn things around themselves, not to accept a donation.
Well, I don't think that we should necessarily speak on behalf of all of them and presume that none of them would want some food or education if they don't otherwise have access to it. I completely agree that we do need to be providing opportunities. We need to give people training. They need to fair jobs. Actually, there's far more money coming from the global south to the global north than is given in aid. So we're actually still extracting a lot of their wealth, and that needs to stop. But if people are in serious, serious poverty and they have no food and they have no access to school, then providing those things will make it more possible for them in the future to support themselves. And
Grace,
taking those things away...
Thank you so much. Teresa in Bedfordshire, hi.
Hello. Yes, good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
I'd like to say that we're giving all this money to foreign aid, money that we haven't got. And why are they not? All the asylum seekers coming into this country, isn't that the money we pay out in foreign aid?
Well, some of it is being used for that now. They did a switch, where they said, OK, we're going to start using foreign aid to pay for hotels for asylum seekers or migrants who arrive in the UK. So, yes, isn't it strange that our foreign aid is...
one lot of money. You can only, if you've got foreign aid, you can either pay for the asylum seekers or you can send it abroad. We can't send it abroad now because we haven't got that money. And when your further questions about the doctors, my nephew has just become a doctor. It's taken him nearly 9 years. And that's 9 years of a loan that he has now got to pay back.
Yeah.
And that's what you're forgetting, that over the next 20 years, he will have to pay back that money.
I promise we're not forgetting that. I mean, it's pressing on all of us.
And in terms of health, a sort of retreat from global health cooperation is a bit of a worry in terms of a part of that aid budget as well, because by putting it in, you sort of help possibly prevent future health threats, pandemics and so on and so forth. There's a lot of important stuff that money goes on.
And Trump has pulled the rug from a lot of projects.
Yeah.
In fact, I think the very first day of his presidency, they drilled off is it foreign aid? What was it called in the States? The foreign aid department.
With the World Health Organization, he withdrew.
No, it was the actual government department that does foreign aid had a sign outside it, and they got a workman up there on a cherry picker and he drilled it off the wall.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that did show some serious intent, as in we are not spending dollars on things in other countries. That's it. It's gone.
I don't agree with the lack of notice. I think organisations should be told you've got 2 or 3 years and we're going to wean you off aid. But we send more aid and families spend more money back home than we invest in these countries.
But also,
that's an issue.
here's Trump's so-called cuts and all that Doge business. It's already, this is why Elon Musk is so furious. He's now brought out the big, beautiful bill and it's spending, but it's all transference of wealth to billionaires. So it's like complete nonsense.
Yeah, you'd think Musk would be happy with that, but you're right. He's not really saved any money.
No.
Teresa, what do you think then? Where do we go from here?
Well, I still think for the next 5 years we shouldn't pay any foreign aid out. We should cover all of our problems. We've not paid the post office. We've not paid the blood people. We've not paid the waspy women.
The waspy women is more contentious, but
we're not going to pay the waspy
the money in this country. If all these people were paid, the money stays in this country.
But isn't that like me going to church and saying, this is an analogy, is going to get me in trouble. Let's just think. Instead of putting money in the collection tin, I'm going to buy my kids an ice cream. Go on, Teresa.
No, I wouldn't say that at all.
You're going to spend it on yourself, not on somebody you don't know.
No, I'm not going to spend it on myself. I'm saying that you look at some of the post office people, they never got their money.
I appreciate that. That's why my analogy was dodgy. Look, the post office people need paying. The blood people need paying. It's insane.
It's but again, just not the waspy women, but
not the waspy women.
No, not the waspy women. But it's pure fallacy that if we didn't send the 0.7% abroad, that we would have better economic horizons here. That's just not true. We're as a country, as a nation, our country's economy has been run very poorly for many, many years. And we have huge challenges around our aging population, etc. That means that the positive horizon is very, very unlikely unless drastic measures are made. And aid is just an easy part to blame.
I'm amazed that it lasted this long. Because, I mean, the funny thing is, in a way, the foreign aid would have been, you'd expect it to be attacked by a Conservative government. It survives through the 14 years. It then gets attacked by Trump, and it's the Labour government that dismantles it. And they promise to pay more.
Yeah, but it has sort of strategic interest, doesn't it? And
of course.
It sort of promotes stability and economic,
disagreeing,
and sort of like on the global stage as well. It means you're a bit of a player and everything. And if you're just like, oh no.
Yes, how it's used is the challenge over many years, and it still hasn't really evolved in a way that's beneficial to Britain. And if we were investing in these countries, then I think people in this country would be a bit more understanding of why we're giving them money
back to Grace's point, some of it does have to be humanitarian and for people that literally haven't
of
got
course.
anything, and all the funding. And of course, as ever, it's women and children, as proved by your stats over there, that will feel the pain the most.
OK, later is the papers and everything else.